As our opening shot pans down here, we can see some of the fairground is still messed up from the fight with the spirit last night. Nice touch. Snow camel. Makes sense, honestly. Camels do pretty well in the cold in real life. And the poles are considered deserts in our world, too. There you go. You've been educated. But YouTube says, oh, you can't put the videos under educational. What, you think 99% of people caught Zuko making that fire shield? I'm teaching.
There it is, the Southern Air Temple. Isn't it magnificent?
It is pretty magnificent. It seems like it's had some work done to it, though, since we've been here last. Aang would have certainly wanted to rebuild it, and there are acolytes living here now, so all these new structures make sense, but it seems like even the buildings that were standing back in Airbender have had some work done, which seems odd. You would think Aang would want to keep as much of the old design as possible, right? Man, why am I getting posture checked by an infant?
That gift is mine! You don't even like to read. Nah.
Iki, I believe, makes a strong argument.
He said he'd be here, but I can't worry about it. I have to make sure you have everything you need for a safe trip.
Thanks, Captain Expedition.
Is this an insult? A compliment? What does she mean by this? Sled forklift, oh yeah!
What happened in the past?
It doesn't matter. What matters is the Everstorm.
Oh, word? Everstorm kind of sounds like some never-ending story stuff. Is it just me, or does naming something like that feel kind of out of place in this world? Nah, I'm just being a dick like always.
I can survive in this thing for like a month. Who wants some freeze-dried cucumber quats?
Cucumber quat is in a mix between cucumber and kumquat, so we are mixing plants too, huh? Remember when Yon Ra's mother was freaking out about tomato carrots?
The tomato carrots from your garden are too hard for my gums.
Well, what do you know? Looks like...
Go away, Mako.
What does it look like? What was this insult gonna be? Seems like he had it ready to fire for a while from how he wound up, but Mako's only scene in regards to this dynamic is when Bolin was like, hey, time to go turn on the old Bolin charm. I don't think he was against it at all, right? So why did he hit him with a condescending, well, what do you know?
So, once we get to the South Pole, then what happens?
You will open an ancient spirit portal.
Oh, okay. Everstorm doesn't sound right, but what else do you call it? The Green Storm? I'd probably call it the Green Storm.
There's a reason the Glacier Spirits Festival ends on the winter solstice. And that's when the spirit world and the physical world are close together.
Insanely true, according to Man in Town and Airbender. Good to see he was well informed, but if that's common knowledge, the way he explains it, it seems like the spirits become more active in the physical world in direct correlation to the solstice growing closer. So wouldn't there at least be a contingent of people that would think, oh, the dark spirit attacks will stop after the solstice? Why hasn't that been brought up? Why isn't that a reasonable thing to think? I guess they are like killing people though, so alright guys, you can go into the Green Storm. It's probably worth it.
Only then can the Avatar open the portal.
The winter solstice is tomorrow.
But the solstice is tomorrow. Yeah, and there's one more problem. The
South Pole
is in the Fire Nation.
You think Naga can smell spirits, or did she just hear the weird demon sounds?
Dark spirits.
You may notice in the first half of Season 2, a lot of the characters can feel clunky art-wise and sometimes even off-model. Korra Season 2 was animated by a different team than Season 1, at least the first episodes of it, which is a shame because Korra Season 1, for the most part, looked pretty great. The old team comes back around halfway through this season, and the animation picks back up from there. But I do have to give this team some props too. Like, sure, the character drawing can feel kind of whack sometimes, not all the time, but I think some of the action and bending they do is some of the most fluid and good-looking in the whole series.
You should have told her a long time ago.
Told me what?
I left the North Pole because I was banished.
We back to talking about banishments around the campfire? Just like the good old days.
20 years ago, I was a general in the Northern Water Tribe.
Checking for water, Jean? No, we're good. Goat. Horse?
Brother, we're being attacked.
Brother, it's me, Unalaq, and we're younger because I have a worried and higher inflection in my voice. Korra's not the only show guilty of this by a long shot, but I always find it funny when it happens. Man, the Northern Water Tribe expanded big time in the last 60 years. We have the main city down here, of course, but this higher area is seemingly a city of even greater scale now. And back in Airbender, this area up here was just a horrible, icy wasteland. This is where Zuko tried to escape with Aang to. This guy brought a scythe to battle? I'm a big scythe hater. I think scythes are stupid weapons. These guys are dressed in red, so you'd be forgiven for thinking they're Fire Nation, but that'd be a little weird. Fire Nation, quote, barbarians in the North Pole. But you'd be right. We see here for a split second that one of them is indeed a firebender. What the hell are these guys doing up here? Whoa, they got the Yuyan rise out of the ground tech.
By destroying the forest, I unknowingly let loose angry spirits.
Well, now, were they angry all the time in the first place, or are they just spirits that are pissed you drowned their forest? He probably didn't let loose angry spirits, he let loose spirits that were angry he messed up their home. Those are two different things. Probably could have used a rewrite on that line. Okay, so the spirit bending thing. I kind of rescind one of my points from last episode. I said there's a disconnect between bending and what this seems to be, just an ill-defined magic. But when I thought about it some more, you've got healing with water too, which is further towards the ill-defined magic side of things than most other bending. But I think that feels more natural. It was introduced to the world pretty early on when we were still learning about it. And it's another part of the bending system where you're like, I kind of just get it. Water has natural soothing properties. It feels good on a burn. You clean cuts with it. It just works in your head, right? But with this, he turns the water golden somehow, I don't know, and it calms the spirits down. Like, I don't know, it just feels very far removed from anything else the show has done. This feels way too much like just magic and not bending, to me at least.
For being the cause of so much devastation, my father banished me from the Northern Water Tribe in shame.
I was gonna do the waterfall in the room joke again, but I think his dad just points and he's like, oh man. Conrock ages pretty well. It's way better than Zuko did, tell you that.
So you were supposed to be chief. Then he became chief. No wonder you guys don't like each other. Ow!
Bolin is animated pretty choppily here, but the sound effects really effectively save it as a stylistic choice, when I'm not entirely sure if it was, but still, I think it works. There are some really cool shots here in the statue room. Here we get one of the fire avatar before Roku, who in the extended lore is known as Zeto, and right in line with him, right where he should be, is the bearded earth avatar that apparently preceded him. It seems like the statue room runs out of space with Aang though, as he seems to be right at the center of the spiral pattern they're in. Maybe foreshadowing for Korra basically having to start the avatar line over later this season? The coolest detail though is this weird looking statue that preceded Roku's is back. The female one at least. There was two different ones in different shots. But it's back and seemingly pushed further back into the spiral to be more correct. That's crazy attention to detail. I love that. I also thought to look back last season when all the avatars showed up to see if I could find her. And it might be this lady back here, but also the avatar cycle just isn't adhered to in the shot after the first handful of them. Like it's correct through Zeto and the guy before him, but then it's fire again, air, earth, fire, air, two waters in a row, seemingly. So hard to say. Also, this lady seems like she might be an airbender, what with the medallion and the pushback hairline. Hard to tell since it's out of focus. And to top this part off, it seems like Big Man Airbender over here might have been the avatar twice. Epic camera maneuver?
I think we're here.
You are? You seem pretty far away.
Oh, it's in the engine!
Like, see what I mean? You can very clearly see the difference between the more static shots and the animation on these more action-centered ones. Like, the art style changes even. These camels are very calm despite being attacked by demons.
I can't stop it!
Wait, how are you flying backward? I know you jumped, but all your momentum was going the other way. You're just flying at this point. What's going on? Okay, I do find it funny that they ski down standing completely straight up. I'm a simple man. Also, this shot of them zigzagging down reminds me of this shot from Airbender because an unhealthy amount of the neurons in my brain are wired to just recognize things from that show, and I'll never be able to change it.
Can someone please deflate me?
Well, okay, so much for the whole heat retention part of the snowsuit. Bolin's cold as hell now.
Oh, great. There goes our equipment. Now what are we supposed to do?
Really? The camels still seem pretty well equipped. What are you missing? You can't just pick stuff up off the ground? Like, I saw them steal one sleeping bag or blanket off of each camel, but it seems like you still have a lot, and two firebenders, not to mention.
Don't worry, sir. I'll keep an eye on Korra for you.
So, what exactly were you and my dad talking about?
Nothing. He was just worried about you, that's all.
You know, sometimes I wonder whose side you're on.
There aren't any sides. You have to trust that we're here for you.
And that's a lot of what it comes down to, right? Korra hasn't been given a great reason to be distrusting of anyone, really, other than her father, but she still seems to want to keep everyone at more than an arm's length with this venomous attitude she has toward anyone that doesn't give her exactly what she wants, or even just know what she wants without her telling them. And that makes for a really hard character to root for.
Wait a second. There's no way she's going alone.
Yeah, if she goes, we go too.
The Avatar must go alone.
Why did they come then?
You have to believe in yourself, like I believe in you. What is it?
I guess I'm just so used to people telling me how to do things that I forgot what it was like to have someone trust in me.
Korra's annoyances are phrased well here at the very least, but the argument kind of shoots itself in the foot when we've had multiple scenes of her asking Mako what she should do. She seems to want to unilaterally be in charge of herself in some scenes, but then in others, the show wants you to think she's floundering and unsure. I suppose the sweet spot she wants is counsel on decisions, but still the freedom to make them on her own, which is more than fair, but she never really argues that. She only argues that she's angry decisions have been made for her in the past, and she doesn't want want it to happen again, which it hasn't. Korra has gotten everything she's wanted in these past 2 episodes. Unalaq is her mentor, and to go on this expedition, so her really mean and confrontational attitude feels very forced.
Korra, all the past avatars live on inside of you. Let them guide you. Let them help you find the light in the dark.
Yeah, this has some vague ties to stuff later in the season, but we'll talk about that later. I like that we hear the wind transition into this weird ghostly whistling as she gets further into the ice cave. It's a cool effect, nice atmosphere. Cool attack. You know, you gotta highlight the good ones when we had pro Benning out here rotting our brains. This shot makes me think. So we're at the Southern Air Temple, male-only temple, right? But it seems like we have female air acolytes here as well. I guess Aang was like, "Dah, fuck it. I'll just make it right back on the island."
What avatar is this?
Jinora, come on, you're a smart girl. Aang is at the end of the spiral, and this guy is at the start, so... God, it would have been so funny if one had both his arms cut off when he died, and then the statue looked like this.
The light in the dark.
You went with airbending? I'm sorry, out of the 3 elements readily available to you, that would be my last choice. Yeah, there you go.
Why isn't it opening?
Use water bending to get rid of the ice? Or is this some sort of spirit force field floor? What's happening? Now, I'm not sure what this little moment is saying. You can read it one of 2 ways. Either the light spirit that is the avatar state weakened the dark spirit's grip, or Korra summoned the avatar state to receive an actual physical boost to her strength. Which, to me, I never got that feeling that that was part of what the avatar state was, but it does kind of look like that's what happened, which is highly weird.
Spirits dancing in the sky.
Oh, it is? Is that like a metaphor? Those are actual spirits? Just seems like energy to me. If I was Jinora and I saw this, I'd be like, all right, I'm the chosen one. I don't know what I've been chosen for, but chosen at the very least.
I can't believe it.
You can't? Why? It didn't seem like you ever doubted her. There's some really weird dialogue in this episode. Also, why did Unalaq send her in there on her own? I guess to just get in her good graces more, showing that he'll give her more room to move than her father or Tenzin would. But what if she did get, like, snagged by some dark spirits? She was on the losing end of fighting one before, and Unalaq really needs this portal open for his shit to work. Seems like Unalaq should have went with her.
Hey, Korra, you're back!
Eska seems to be slightly angry at Bolin being excited to see Korra, which is a nice blink and you miss it.
You never cease to amaze me.
Thanks. By the way, I'm really sorry for being a total pain.
What? Hello? Where did this come from? Why is she apologizing now? She hadn't changed her tune at all up until this, and usually you would have a moment written so a character can realize they were being a jerk, but that never happened. She just opened the portal. Why is she sorry? They had the thought to animate a lens flare? Whoa. Also, this shot is pretty similar to a shot in the finale to Airbender Book 1. Then the Fire Nation was invading the North, but now the North is invading the South.
What are all your northern troops doing here?
There's more difficult work to be done before our 2 tribes are truly united.
You've been had, dumbass. The Southern Lights is a weird one, in a good way, I think. I think the episode is very interesting from start to finish. The conflict between Unalaq and Tarlok is cool, and seeing why they don't get along. The expedition takes up the whole episode, and on paper, not a lot of stuff really happens. It's just walk in the snow, story time, walk in the snow, get attacked by spirits, walk in the snow, get attacked by spirits. But we're at a part in the story where the spirits are still a pretty novel enemy and are still pretty interesting to look at. So it keeps your attention. And we just jump right into it too. It feels like the writers sort of realized they ran out of time last season because they spent the first half of it not doing much at all with the story. So just launching into important stuff is a very welcome departure from that. We also get a few fun visual shoutouts to Airbender and the Tenzin scenes and a little setup for further storylines with that camp. And those scenes are very short and slide in very nicely. They don't distract from our main story at all. It almost feels like the dialogue could have used another look over though. There's a few lines that leave me scratching my head, but overall I think it's a pretty great follow-up episode to what was a pretty decent opener. Patreon shoutouts if you want to see 2 brand new videos from me. You can support me on Patreon for just a few bucks. Link as always is in the description below the video. Biggest shoutouts of all go to my top patrons, Aurora, who can fall from any height and be fine as long as they do a superhero landing. Balmier Candle, who defeated 3 Grandmasters at once in chess by using his trusty magic 8-ball. Catch Adorable, who keeps getting parts for a coal-powered mecha suit for Christmas, but they're too nice nice to ever get gifted any fuel for it. Gene Cree, who was supposed to be executed by the horrifying brazen bull method centuries ago, but they just came out with a nice golden brown tan. Jacob 1908, who dug a canyon you can yell math questions into and the echo gives you the answer. Lemon, who much like the gladiators of old is extremely deadly with a fishing net. Omega Fighter, who saves an orphanage from being hit by a meteor by firing a slightly larger meteor they just had laying around at it. Sean Martin, who found a homeless poltergeist and very graciously let it live with him. Taylor of Tots, who climbed a tree so fast it lit on fire. Getting down was much trickier. That blind ginger, who won the Weed Whacker 1 vs 1 dueling world championships with a staggering ratio of 1 to 3 of receiving and giving horrible, stinging welts. Tiago Nascimento, yes, does have an in with a society of 10-foot tall sentient crabs that live just off of Rhode Island. And William Fisher, who is so shredded he won the Mr. Reality Show against aliens from all over the observable universe. One was literally just a mountain of muscle. And of course my god overanalyzers, Two Boots Are Beat, 9Y2Y, a moss-covered raccoon, Ethereal Catnip, Alan Garvin, Andrew Watchert, Austin Gallup, Black Smeme, Blue Food, Bob Deff, Chandler Crump, Kobe Smith, Connor Gallery, Dead Rat Fiasco, Deathly Healer, Dizzy Payne, Dr. Xerox, Dominic Saint, Donut, Distent, Emma Not Emma, Aaron Grace, Gianluco Leandro Magi, Amma Match, JL, Jada Jones, Jackson, John Ajaka, Justin Fletchall, Justin Scott, Kai D, Kelly, Mac, Mackie and Eligio, Mark Rethy, Medium D Speaks, Michael Fallon, Mighty Virus, Nick, Nicholas Abbott, Peter Bayron, Reese, Rocket Miss, Ryan Gregorikos, Ryan Maxwell, Samuel Vanderplatt, Shane Antonacci, Sean Flowers, Spicy Ketchup, Super Snipper, The Long and Short of It, Fifi Mole, Thomas Graff, Victoria the Queen, and some sort of bear face. Next up, who can say for sure?